In reviewing the evaluating functions homework, on slide 2, one of the functions you had to evaluate was the absolute value of t plus 2 plus 3. So what I wanted to draw your attention to was what happens when you take the absolute value of a function. When I plug in an x value of -4, I end up with -4 plus 2, which is a -2. However, the absolute value function turns any negative number into a positive, so this -2 becomes a +2. +2 plus 3 is 5, so h of -4 is 5. Question number 6 on the evaluating functions homework asks you to use the table of values to evaluate this function for f of 2. So what this function notation is telling us is I want to know my output value when the input, or the x, is 2. Looking at the chart, all of my x values are on the left-hand side. So when I go to an x value of 2, I can see that my y value, or my output, is 0. Therefore, f of 2 equals 0. On slide 7, we have a discrete graph, which is just a collection of various points. Given this graph, I want to know what is f of 3. This notation is telling us I want to know my output, or my y values, when the x value is 3. On the graph, if I go to an x value of 3 and follow to where a point exists on this graph, I can see that a point exists at a y value of -1. Therefore, when my x value is 3, my y value is -1. This relation is a function also because looking at this graph, it passes the vertical line test. Although I have multiple y values of -1, they all have different x values. You only have a relation that is not a function when the same x value has two different y values. Given this graph, we also want to know what our output value is when our x value is 1. Looking at this graph, when I go to an x value of 1, I have two different options for what my output could be. At an x value of 1, I can either go up to the graph at a y value of +3, or I can go down on the graph to a y value of -1. Therefore, I have two options for what f of 1 evaluates to. When my x value is 1, my y value can either be -1 or +3. Therefore, this relation is not a function because the same x value can go to two different y values.